Righty then. All righty, so this is Colfax City Council meeting for January 28, 2026 will now be in session. If you could please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. All right, City Clerk, can you do roll call, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Burris.
Present.
Councilmember Douglas.
Present.
Councilmember Lohman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg.
Here.
Mayor McCauley.
Here. Thank
you. We have a quorum.
All right, may I have a motion to approve the agenda order, please?
Move to approve.
Second. All right, any opposed or all in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? No, all righty, so agenda order has been approved. We have our statement of conflict of interest. Do we have any new conflict of interest from the council?
No change.
No change?
No change.
Fantastic. All right, so next is our consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be approved in one blanket motion with the council vote, unless a council member or a member of the public requests an item to be pulled from consent for discussion. Items pulled will be addressed after the council completes our consent calendar vote and will require a separate motion. Are there any items that the council or the public would like to pull?
I'd like to pull 2E.
2E. Okay. Yeah, he's not here tonight. Yeah, is it something that you're gonna need a question for Kathy or?
You want me to do it now?
No, we'll pull it and, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does the public have anything that they want to pull? Nope. Okay, can I get a motion to approve with the agenda or the consent calendar minus 2E?
Motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item 2E.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, so consent calendar is approved. The 2E, Larry, what is we want to,
Whether or not we should include a statement that the city should not run events?
this doesn't have anything to do with the city themselves running events. It's just a zoning change.
No,
So I don't think that it would go into the same section.
I
Just
think we had a separate item we had asked for regarding
Yes,
major events.
I just wanted it all to be clear. That's all. I accept that answer.
So then can I get a motion to approve 2E?
Oops, I make that motion.
All right, hold on. Trinity says I got to take public comment on Larry's question. Do we have any public comment? No? Okay. Trinity, you still motion to approve 2E? Oh, what's it? Larry?
I move.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, so agency reports. So as a reminder to the council and the public, the meeting is being live streamed. Please be sure to speak clearly into the microphone and hit the make sure the green light is on so we can record you. Agency reports. Placer County Sheriff.
Brandon Hahn, Placer Sheriff. I'm a sergeant currently acting as acting lieutenant out of Auburn Station. I'm filling in for Sergeant Williams tonight. The only thing he had for me to pass down was I guess you guys went over the statistics last meeting. So there wasn't much to pass on for that. And the only other thing would be the cleanup for the train derailment. Looks like that's moving forward pretty good. It sounds like all the cars are out and then just some metal debris and some other stuff that UP is putting plans together to clean up. So that is all I have.
All right, do we have any questions from the council? Anything for the public? All right, you're good. Thank you so much. All right, no surprise, it doesn't look like CHP is here. They are obviously busy this evening and CAL FIRE is just the same. And it does show Caltrans on our agency reports. They will be joining us starting next meeting. So the Caltrans will be here the first meeting every month. So we made those connections and they will be here joining us in February. All right, nonprofits. Do we have any nonprofits that would like to make a report? Caroline, join us.
Before you go, I have just a real short question. You had said late last year that due to the profit from 3rd of July last year, I think you said there was $7,000 and that you didn't anticipate asking the council for fireworks money this year. Well, you said you told us $7,000 and something. Yeah. That's what I'm asking.
So we're trying to meet that goal. And hopefully not have to ask you guys, that's our plan. It's not to ask for any money for fireworks. We'd like to do a bigger show this year because it is the 250th anniversary for America. So we'd like to do a bigger show. So we're working on that. But we feel like we're pretty good at our fundraisers and we put a lot of energy and a lot of commitment into it. So I think that we will probably meet that goal like we did last year, and then we have that reserve setting there in case, you need it.
So I'm just wondering, are you on track or not? Sounds like you are.
Please don't worry if you need to come and ask for some additional funds, because that's what we've set the money aside for. So
Fine.
we appreciate all your efforts.
We actually want to try and meet that goal.
Great.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. Do we have any other nonprofits that'd like to make a report this evening? Nope. Okay, moving right on. We do not have any presentations or public hearings this evening. So next up is our public comment. Everybody has an opportunity to address the city council for any comments at this time. You may speak to the council for any item that is not on the agenda item, and it's something that's within our purview. We cannot act on anything, but if there's something we need to refer to staff, we can. So please come to podium and speak your name clearly and keep your comments brief. At this time, you have 5 minutes. Do you have anybody that wants to make public comment? Greetings, Mr. Barnum. All right, do we have anybody else for public comment? Quiet day. Okay, we'll move on to council and staff reports and our committee reports. So Sean, you want to start us off?
I have nothing for tonight.
I had nothing officially scheduled, although I went to the Sierra Vista Center just to make sure they're manning their post over there, and praise them how nice the gym floor looks, and that's it.
Larry?
Yeah, just briefly a statement that the Sierra Vista Center is building their funds slowly but surely. Things are going in a positive direction. The gym floor is getting some good use, and things are looking better than they did, let's say, 6 months ago, financially. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Trinity.
So we have a lot going on in transportation at the moment. Right now, we are working on trying to get a final answer on the DOT's Regional Infrastructure Accelerator Grant. We're waiting on approximately $2 million through PCTPA. This is for I-80 construction specifically. We're also working on the US DOT's build grant. This would specifically help with the Rockland Road Highway 80 interchange. We're expecting that we may be able to get, about $20 to $25 million in February towards that. And then we're working on the congested corridors program for the fall of 26, which would be another $25 to $40 million. And the great thing about these federal grants that we're chasing is it helps free up the pot for the smaller cities so that we're not having to use the general tax fund for our local jurisdictions through SB1 necessarily for projects that we can get this other funding for. So that's pretty exciting because we do have a few grants that we talked about at the last meeting that are successfully making their way into Colfax, starting with the planning grant, and then hopefully we're gonna chase the emergency infrastructure grant for paving. We're currently working on the with SACOG on the 6 county funding round, that $30 million of federal funds. So that's obviously going to be a negotiation fun fest. The small cities funding legislation that we're currently working on, as I had stated at the last meeting, Hadwick is currently our assembly member who will be sponsoring the bill. We are working on a Democratic co-sponsor to try to get bipartisan support. So I know I've been talking with Carolyn about this a little bit, so we can try to get some additional help from some of our partners in SACOG and helping lobby that bill. And what it would do is raise our minimum funding that we receive through the state funds up to a minimum of $200,000 so that, we've got a better distribution and ability to help with the areas coming out of the major cities, supporting those same people into the rural districts. For the SR 65, we're working on regulatory approvals for that construction. We're expecting construction on the Highway 65 interchange expansion to continue starting in 2027. So that's really exciting because, as some of you remember, we had multiple tax measures hit the ballot and fail in order to fund that project. But because we were successful in lobbying the federal dollars on that, we were able to get millions of dollars to actually cover that construction. Let's see here. The other item I wanted to bring up is that we are looking at writing letters of support for the Federal Speed Act. This would really help with the streamlining of the NEPA process. So it'll allow us to use CEQA as opposed to using NEPA and CEQA in order to do a lot of the building and expansion through federal lands. And this helps not just on transportation, but also utility infrastructure, broadband, a lot of other areas that really deeply concern the rural areas where we are up against federal forestry land. So we may want to consider potentially writing a letter of support from our council, just talking about how streamlining the NEPA process would be very supportive, especially to small jurisdictions who, it's very expensive to go through multiple rounds of redundancies. And tomorrow night, PCTPA, we're going to be hosting the California Transportation Commission. So that's a pretty exciting big deal. We'll be hosting them tomorrow at the grounds. And hopefully we'll get a chance there to do a little bit of that state level shoulder rubbing and lobbying for some of these big projects that we're working on, because again, the more money we get for these big projects that may seem distant from Colfax, the more opportunity it opens of the general pots to be able to bring money into Colfax. And we've seen that several times over, like with our roundabout and other projects. But that's what I have tonight.
Like you said, it's a whole lot of stuff going on in different places. It's good.
intertwined.
It is. Let's see, the last couple of weeks I had SACOG meetings, the meeting on the skate park, the city selection committee. Sean gets to keep LAFCO. He's all excited for that one. But that's about it. Yeah. All right, city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So what I have this week is the Culver Street Drainage Improvement Project has been completed. The street appears to be drying out. This project was performed to keep the groundwater running down the hill from pushing up through the pavement and short lifing the pavement. Carl's here if you have any questions about that. Staff has met with the Lowrys, continued discussion on hotel project. Engineering and the building department is working closely with them to finalize the permits so they can pull them and get started on that project. And then I too attended the soup cook-off. Good turnout and great soups. So for maintenance, they sanded and applied a waterproof coating to the tables at the outdoor seating areas on Main Street, cleaned up the bus stop over by the depot, and they've been starting some vegetation removal, blackberries around the courtyard. And that's all I have. Yes. Let's see, Carl Moore with the City Engineering
Can I ask
Services.
a question? Is there going to be a vote on this?
Mhm.
All right, then
Okay.
Oh, right.
Oh, thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry. Again, Carl Moore with City Engineering Services here tonight to discuss the bid results and the next step in the projects. Carl, if you'd walk up to the top and the floor will be yours.
Carl Moore, city engineer. Sorry, I thought this got pulled again because it's been pulled the last two sessions, so I'm a little unprepared, but the staff report we have edited to include going to, forgot what it's called. Sourcewell, yes, which I don't know anything about, so we have Canteen New Line, and he can explain that process a little bit more. They are part of that process and understand that process. So the city's gonna lean on them to assist us going through that if that's council's direction to proceed. So right now there's 5 options for the skate park and dealing with the funding issue. So if Canteen, if you're online and you want to chime in on that Sourcewell process. Thank you. Ken.
Okay, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, so I know Carl will probably be going through all the options stated in the agenda with you, but because of the bid process and the fact that some of those bids came in higher, it could be through a multitude of reasons, maybe just availability from some of those contractors or, whatever reason they put in the number they put into. But there is an option to directly negotiate with a qualified skate park contractor through Sourcewell. And that is one of the options there, to reject the bids and just directly negotiate through that. It's a set price, whatever the terms that they want to engage in with one of the qualified skate park contractors from Sourcewell. So that is an option. So it doesn't have to go through the rebid process and try to get numbers. It's just agreeing on a negotiated price based on your budget and what that scope of work and will include for the skate park. It's basically a kind of co-op direct purchasing program. So yeah, we can walk everyone, the city staff, through that process, and they can also speak to Sourcewell directly.
Would that require changing the scope of the project?
No. I mean, not at the time. I think what would happen is that you would directly negotiate with a contractor of your choice that's on Sourcewell, and then everyone agrees upon that price and the scope. So it doesn't have to change anything on the plans. It's just, again, if there's any, you have the ability to kind of make any options or, talk about the ad alternates or whatever's on that list of what they want to take and what they can't take based on the budget. So again, you're able to directly negotiate, unlike a bid process where you cannot.
Well, I guess the logical question is, how does this comply with competitive bidding requirements?
There are 5 qualified skate park contractors on Sourcewell. So an agency is allowed to negotiate directly with whatever construction firm they want to of their choice. It does not have to be bid.
So if I may, to bring everybody up to speed, Sourcewell is a government-based cooperative purchasing agency that offers competitive solicited contracts to education, government, and nonprofits. So basically, they've gone through and done national competitive bidding. So their bids are already in there, so you don't have to go back to the bidding process. I've used it in the past to buy equipment, and I think Sean can speak to it even more.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah, it's pretty standardly used by government agencies to get a guaranteed price. Yeah, basically that company has done all the bidding, collected all the prices, and all those companies have come to an agreed upon price list. And you can pick services off of that price list and materials off that price list at that set cost. It saves a lot of time in the bidding process, and it also generally reduces costs significantly in projects because everything's already been pre-bid at a federal level too. So it helps bring that price down so you're not stuck quite on the California prices.
And with their pre-bidding, they can supply all the documentation that backs up their bidding. So there's no question when it comes to an audit.
Yeah, with where our bids came in, I think it's probably going to be our best option without having to go and look for more funds. It sounds like Line is pretty sure they.
Yes, yes. Our team has looked at everything and the pricing through the Sourcewell locked in pricing, and our firm would be confident it could be built for that price. Yes.
And Sean, you brought this in? You introduced us to staff?
Yeah, Line actually introduced it. I'm just familiar with it. I use it at my office to get projects done.
Well, it's fantastic. I just want to say thank you.
All right, does any of the council have any further questions? No. Do we have anybody from the public that has any questions? Okay, come on up. Yeah, either one. No?
I just wanted to clarify the process because I heard earlier some discussion of 5 different options, and so far I've only heard 2, which would be to go with one of the existing bids or to go with this pre-bid assortment of contractors. So could you clarify if there are in fact any other options in that?
Kind of the 5 options, and I wouldn't even say they're necessarily options. They're also steps that we have to go through at this point, because that's what you have under your conclusions and findings, right? So we have, we obviously we're looking for additional funding sources, so additional donations or sponsorships that we can get to help narrow the gap that we have right here. Looking for additional funding, any other grants we might be able to find. We could completely send the project out to rebid, which is a little bit longer process to go through. Or what we're looking at doing right now is rejecting I think we had 2 bids, 3. Carl?
2.
2, yeah, we had 2 bids that came in, so we can reject those bids, and that's when we go to the Sourcewell. And then hopefully with Sourcewell, we'll be able to get sufficient pricing to be able to narrow that gap to what we need to do. Or we reject all of the bids, return the funding back to everybody, and we drop the project. That's really where you're at right now. So going through Sourcewell is the best option to try to close this gap that we've got right now. So that's what the recommendation is so far.
Harry Anderson.
Just a couple of questions I have. By the time I take the figures on the agenda and add them up with the could be amounts of money, we're about we're pretty close to $1 million. That seems like an exorbitant amount of money for a skate park. And from what I understand, these qualified skate park builders, they have an ever increasing share of a decreasing market. When you're if it was that hot of an item, I would think there would be more than 5. I really would. And from what I read in here, it looks like there's been somebody that did plans originally. You know, a skate park looks very familiar to a swimming pool. And I don't know if anybody's seen it or has a swimming pool that would take notice of it, but on Facebook Marketplace, there's an ad that says, why pay all this money for a swimming pool when you can do it yourself? So what I would suggest is maybe think outside the box And since you have plans, talk to some other alternatives for contractors, as long as they're insured. And they have a set of plans, and it says in here that it would cost us between 50 to 100 grand for the city to monitor this. That's right in there. I think you could probably do it for a whole lot less. But I don't want to ruin anybody's fun, but the only other thing I think about is when I was a teenager, we knew all the places to go at night and have fun and party and all that good stuff. But we also knew that there were police on duty 24/7. We don't have that here. Our patrol ends at 1:30, doesn't come back till 6 in the morning. So who's going to be monitoring the park when it's closed? Because I know kids will be kids. I was. Something to think about. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? No.
Hi, Larry Hilberg, 255 J Street in Colfax. I realize you're choosing among 5 options, but it sounded to me like the one you're choosing, you would already acknowledge that you need to raise more money, or are you going to them and saying, what's the best you can do for the money we have? And that's what it sounded like. So that means throw the designs away, throw the plans away, throw the bids away, and here's how much money we have. What can you do? And just to point out that a whole lot of promises went down the drain right there. That's really all I have to say. It seems like it would be a hard process to monitor, and it's not really very clear, and it doesn't seem to include project management or contingencies, or maybe it does. That's all.
Thank you, Larry. Do we have any other public comment? Ty, did you want to say anything? Okay. That works. Canton, do you want to go ahead and add anything?
Yes, I can respond. So with Sourcewell, you follow the same protocols you would for a bid project. So the skate park plans are indeed valid and they would be followed. So there would be no changes to the plans. They're not thrown out the window, and it would be built for the budget that is negotiated based on the funding you currently have. It's not a scenario where a contractor is going to say, now we need $1 million. The budget is the budget, but that also includes some donated in-kind donations. And in the plans and specifications that were developed, as are for hundreds of other skate parks that our firm does around North America, there are specific tolerances that have to be followed that have been tried and true through projects that have been built successfully. Anytime there is a non-specialized skate park contractor trying to do those organic forms that emulate swimming pools, they don't turn out well and they usually get rejected. So the reason why the plans and specifications are so detailed and the tolerances are so tight is to avoid a skate park being built poorly and becoming unsafe for the general public's health, safety, and welfare. So yeah, it's not really much of a difference as far as what you would normally see in a project where city staff and other people would still be able to inspect and make sure the plans and specifications are followed. But the only difference is, as was pointed out, you're negotiating with a qualified contractor. There are actually many other construction companies that do apply for Sourcewell, but they only allow 5 contractors on that list every 5 years. So yeah, so it is designed to the budget. As was mentioned, they are qualified as a very competitive national bid to get on Sourcewell. And so the 5 contractors that are on there were very well vetted that can handle these types of complex construction projects for skateboarding. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Canton. Do we have any other questions from the public or from the council before we have any discussion? He's quiet. Sean's checking his notes.
I guess the last thing that I think Ty probably wanted me to mention is that Sourcewell has been used to design and build hundreds of skate parks successfully. So it's not something new. It's something that has been well used where they go that route.
Thank you. So for the council, we can have a discussion about the 5 options, or we can go with a motion of any of the 5.
I was just gonna say, I'm impressed with the Sourcewell offering. I think that it would definitely be us doing a huge betrayal to the people who worked very, very, very hard to raise funds for years and, you know, show up and put in the effort and drive an initiative and try to build something nice where we currently have a dirt lot. If we were to let something die without trying an option that, you know, was put in front of us, and at least, you know, giving them an opportunity to say, you know, either yes, we can do it within the price that you have already committed, or no, we can't do it. And so, you know, for that reason, I feel like this opportunity to go to Sourcewell and say, hey, what can you do for us is fantastic. And I'm excited about it, because going back out to bid isn't ideal, but that would have been my next resort.
So, do you have any comment, Kim, or do you?
Oh, I tend to agree with Trinity. I mean, if this were a couple of years ago, I would have said, look, only 1.7% of the population statistically uses a skate park and et cetera, et cetera. And I would have not let this budget grown beyond like looking like the federal deficit. However, since we're so far down the road, I tend to go along with Trinity's thinking on this issue.
Well, it's probably important to note too, you know, there may be a lot of people who want things, but who steps up? Who makes it happen? And what is their labor and effort worth? And I think it speaks volumes when someone commits years of their life to something because they believe in it. And I don't think that's worth dismissing, even if it does just cater to a small minority, because since when is it good to write people off just because they're a minority? Sounds pretty discriminatory. So, you know, if they're stepping up and putting in the work, I think we need to show some respect for that and give them a chance.
Well, do we have a motion to be made then?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we direct staff to reject current bids and coordinate pricing with a contractor for the project through Sourcewell.
I second.
All right.
Aye.
Moving right along. Larry, would you like to join us again? All right, the next item of council business this evening is a discussion on SCADA and the lift stations. We have the city manager and we have Matt, our plant operator.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Matt Anderson, Chief Fund Operator, is here tonight to discuss.
On motion, and you seconded it, right? Yeah.
Is here tonight to discuss the supervisor control and data acquisition project. And the additional deficiencies we found in the sewer collection system. Matt?
I'm Matt Anderson. I'm the chief plant operator for the Colfax wastewater treatment plant. So I'm just going to read a couple paragraphs. This kind of sums up what's been going on at the wastewater plant with our lift stations and our new SCADA system that we are like 92% complete with already. Subsequent meetings between the city and Control Point Engineering revealed that the scope and quality of work previously commissioned by Telstar was insufficient to meet the project goals. To move forward effectively, we requested a comprehensive quote from Control Point Engineering to complete the SCADA system for the city's 4 lift stations in a way that ensures long-term functionality, flexibility, and reliability. Currently, the wastewater treatment plant has a new SCADA system and separate SCADA system for the lift stations, which cannot be integrated into the new system due to the age of software and hardware. The current SCADA system for the lift stations are 17 versions away from current hardware and 20 versions away from the newest software. The system's hardware and software are too old to integrate into the new system, leaving us again having to run 2 systems. The other issues with the current system is that the city cannot enable any alarms for lift station 1 because it faults the system due to bad programming and hardware. Lift station 2 has a total of 4 pumps, but we can only use 2 currently with the current system due to bad programming, old hardware, and software. Currently, we can see the lift stations in the new system, but cannot control anything at the station and have minimal alarms due to the old software. So the gist of a SCADA system is to be able to control, monitor, get alarms when things break, pumps go down, electricity goes down, something, so we can get out there and actually fix the problem before we have literally raw sewage coming out of the lift station and onto the ground. Our system currently that we are using is a very, it's a word I'm looking for.
Antiquated.
Pick a colorful word for garbage. Like that's what it is. The new SCADA system that the council approved months ago is night and day difference than what the city had before. I'm able to look in, I can track, I can trend, I get every alarms. Currently, we've saved countless violations because of the new system notifying us of problems before they become actual violations. With the lift stations right now, we do not get alarms from the high school lift station, which is lift station 1. We do not have control of 2 of the pumps at lift station 2. Anytime we turn on the alarms, the system immediately shuts off. So what I'm asking council for, it's gonna hurt, is $154,140 for an entirely new integrated lift station SCADA system. Please.
That price is actually pretty good because if you were to put one SCADA recloser out at a project site for, let's say, a solar system, you're looking at probably 120,000 just for that one piece of equipment. So for this to be overriding for our entire system, I mean, that's pretty fantastic offering.
Let me add that the current sewer budget for the sewer plant is below the midpoint mark, so we're saving money, and that doesn't consider the solar savings that we'll see at the end of the year yet. And on top of that, you have about 400 in unencumbered reserves that you can use in sewer. So there is some funding there for this project.
I have a question for clarification, because Matt, you said 154,000. That's what it says on fiscal impact. But on your conclusion and findings and up in the top, it's 157. So are we looking, what's the?
Oh, no, that's a misprint. It's 154.
It's 154.
Yeah.
So the 154 is right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we're right because we have.
Yeah, so with that, or no, hold on. The 154 is a misprint. It's 157. So with this SCADA system, we actually, just so council knows, currently we pay about $5,000 a year for a landline just to be able to get communications from the lift stations to us. So once we do this and it's integrated into what we currently have, that $5,000 will be saved every single year from here on out. The other thing that we're getting with the new SCADA and software and hardware is actual monitoring, camera monitoring and video monitoring of the actual lift stations. So it's kind of like a built-in security system that, we can use for vandals and whatever. If you guys remember lift station 5, we had a homeless guy break into the station and start sleeping on top of the MCCs. I don't want that to happen anymore. So we'd be able to monitor the actual inside of the station, outside of the station, and see what's going on.
For clarification, the MCC is motor control unit or motor control. What's the second C? It's a motor control panel. So it's a large panel with switches on it, and he climbed on top of it because the heat from the drive units rises and he was sleeping on top of it.
All right. So do we have any questions or comments from the public before?
Oh, wait a minute.
Well,
Can we comment after some of us?
Yeah,
have comments already?
comment after the public. So do we have any public comments or questions in regards to this? All right. I knew, Tom, you were sitting there. Come on. Come on up, Tom.
Good.
Yeah, Tom Parnham, former operator. Back in the day, we had a float that would make a light go off at the lift station with a sign with a phone number on it. That was our SCADA. Somebody had to see the light flashing and then call. So we've come a long way. considering that, most people in town are using this lift station and less than 2% of the people are going to use a skate park, it seems like a good idea to fund this. Give this guy what he needs. They're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have any other public comment or questions? Okay, now we'll bring it back to council for any comments or questions.
By the way, we still have the float that turns on the light.
Does the
it's-
light actually have a light bulb that works?
Yes,
Who-
it's still there. Yeah, it's the backup to the backup and yeah.
Larry, did you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, just generally, I mean, this is a big investment. And can you give any kind of estimate for what this means in dollars? You mentioned $5,000 a year, but it seems like there must be more payoff than that. And
So-
then what does it mean to our staff? Same thing. Does this mean less human requirements?
I wouldn't say less human requirements.
Can we run the system with less people because of this than we do
No.
today? So
No.
the same staff.
Same staff. So what basically this does, instead of us having a problem at a lift station that we don't know about, and now we have an SSO or a spill that could cost upwards. I mean, if we have a spill, let's say of 100,000 gallons, it's about $10,000 per 1,000 gallons spilled if it's our fault. So at
we're-
100,000 gallons, I mean, think of, the violation that the state could impose on us because we didn't have a SCADA system that would actually alarm out and tell us that you have a problem.
I don't want to think of 100,000 gallons of sewage, but so we're going to be able to run the system better.
Yes.
And are there any more savings other than the $5,000? I mean,
Potential violations and spills. So
okay.
currently, and I'm sure most staff know, Lift Station 5 is our biggest station that we have. If a pump goes down there and we can't turn on another pump, we have exactly 20 minutes before it starts coming out. And once it comes out there, it goes right into the creek. So if we don't know about it because we don't have current alarms and they're not working, we have the possibility and risk that we're going to contaminate a body of water that's going to go somewhere else that's going to contaminate. And that's when the state steps in and goes, here's your violation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to go to jail, so.
Do we have any other questions or comments, or can we get a motion if we don't have any?
Move to approve the item.
Do we have a second?
I second. Oh,
Sorry, Larry, have it.
All right, Larry got it. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right.
Thank
You're
you.
good, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. All right, so the next item of council business this evening is the discussion regarding Councilmember Burris and our city manager Walker attending Cap to Cap, which we did continue over from the January 14th meeting. Go for it.
Yeah. So again, from the last meeting, Cap to Cap is a program meant to secure funding and resources for high priority projects in the region and raise local concerns to officials at a national level. Councilman Burris has attended this event for years in the past and can speak to the importance of council and staff in attendance. Councilman Burris.
Specifically at the last meeting, there was a request to understand some of the financial implications that we've been able to successfully win out of this trip. And when we go on this trip, there's sort of two aspects to it. One, we're obviously doing the federal lobbying with different agencies and with our congressmen and Senate and getting our face in front of them to represent the rural districts. But on the other side of it, we're simultaneously trying to assert ourselves as a player in the actual pot with the other people who are representing the larger districts who are also attending the event. And so when we go, it's usually between 400 and 500 delegates across the Sacramento region who are within our regional funding area, meaning that the federal funds that are coming in, for example, transportation specifically, which is one of the areas I participate on, those funds, when they come down from the feds through the Federal Highway Administration, the DOT, and the congressional earmarks, those go typically through, COGS, like SACOG, which are the main transportation funders and boards that determine the divvy up through the municipal transportation plans that are submitted to the federal government. So if the projects are not listed within those plans, they don't end up getting funding, regardless of who we lobby at the state, because the state isn't actually the one in control. It is the feds. Ultimately, a lot of the funds that we've brought in have come across several different areas, and wildfires had a really unique focus the last few years because we've focused on massive pots of funding for shaded fuel breaks. We have focused on water infrastructure. We've focused on the need for telecommunication for emergency response, a number of different areas. And so I've been doing this since 2019 as we've evolved. And then again, I've also participated on the transportation board dual over the years. So as far as water is concerned, you guys are noticing we've got this new PCWA plant that's coming in over here. And the last couple of years, one of the things that we specifically brought up with the EPA was the fact that there are grant and funding limitations in place that limit rural districts from being able to access adequate funding needed to construct large facilities and infrastructure. And so we were successful in getting the restriction lifted, allowing for that, $10 million zero interest grant for that facility, or not grant, loan for that facility, as well as the $2.5 million principal forgiveness portion. So that's all funding that's no longer going to be subject to ratepayers in order to expand the water infrastructure. Technology and communications has been a huge focus. Part of that was the broadband. So this one required several different teams, some of which I did not personally participate on. We brought it up during wildfire just for the need of our responders to have reliable communications with people in the rural areas. But that ultimately resulted in $23.7 million in rural funding for Placer County specifically to receive broadband access and fiber. A lot of that went to Frontier, who recently sold to Verizon. That's a separate issue. As far as transportation improvements, I did talk a little bit earlier about the US DOT funding that is going towards the Highway 65 corridor project and the Rockland Road projects. Overall, that's about $46 million that have been directed directly from the federal government, bypass SACOG, went directly to PCTPA due to the lobbying. And through PCTPA, we're able to be allocated to that project, which then frees up the general pot from PCTPA from our sales tax within the county, allowing us to then get those bigger slices of the pie, which we're trying to do currently, especially through this state level legislation with the small communities bill that we're putting forward. The wildfire and clean air part, this funding pot, I know that we were successful in getting the earmark for the $1.5 million for the Forest Hill Divide. We are still working on an additional grant funding in order to do an earmark in the, I'm going to double check the numbers on this one, but it was north of $20 million just for our region for federal forest clearing for shaded fuel breaks. And so we are trying to get a very specific slice to go from Auburn up to Tahoe, just south of the Tahoe Basin, because the Tahoe Basin has their own separate attainment area. So that's a separate lobbying and funding pool. But we're trying to get the shaded fuel breaks up along 80 and then following up along where they're kind of on the state level pushing that housing infill development. So Colfax is a big target for that. So those are some of the financial examples of wins that we did get directly out of those conversations, with the EPA, USDA. The other big one was FEMA grant funding. This was a big push for the last 3 years, was the FEMA grant funding for wildfire hardening. Obviously, we're still in a tussle about when we're going to get released funds for that. But we have been able to successfully lobby for that funding pot to be protected and not eliminated, because there was a lot of conversation about the elimination or reduction of FEMA funding. So we are trying to kind of keep that going and reminding people that, it's not just the larger jurisdictions. Again, Tahoe Basin does have their own funding attainment area. They're very effective at lobbying for that. And we need to make sure that, again, Tahoe Basin isn't the only area that is getting the large swathes of funding. We need to make sure it's going to, rural El Dorado County, rural Placer County, outside of the main basin. And I'm happy to answer any other questions, but ultimately it's very important to understand how the money flows. We don't go to DC and say, hey, can you cut me a check? And then get a check directly to Colfax by any means. But because we are able to partner and help advocate for our partners, we do actually get a lot more consideration when we are successful in obtaining these large pots of funding, because we actively fought for that funding. We have a really good say to say, no, we get a cut of it. You don't get to cut us out because we're tiny. You don't get to keep it among yourselves because you're the only ones who fought for it. And we have been pretty successful with that over the years.
Thank you, Trinity. We will open it up to the public first for any comments or questions in regards to it, if there are any. Harry, go ahead.
Harry Anderson. As I said at the last meeting, I totally support, you going. Obviously, it's a pay to play. If you don't pay, you don't get to play. And obviously, with all the expanse we have and experience of fires and everything else, we certainly need somebody to speak on our behalf before we become paradise or the place on the ocean that disappeared. And it's very obvious that through your time going what you're going to hope to accomplish and what you have accomplished. Are you going as the chaperone, or what are you hoping to get out of this?
Well, I won't be around forever, and hopefully he'll be around longer than me. So kind of the idea is we have to have that transfer of knowledge, and it really needs to happen, by bringing people along and teaching them and having the shadowing and saying, okay, so here's where the conversation left off. Here's the important player you need to spend time with. And here's why I need you at the bar till 2 a.m.
Okay, so that makes sense. Good. Well, then I can't see why it wouldn't be a good thing to do, really. So.
Thank you, Harry. Do we have any other public comments or questions? Okay, we will bring it back to the council. Go ahead, Larry. Looks like you're ready to ask questions.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in institutional memory. And we've had the same person going there for 6 to 7 years and has made a lot of contacts. And it just seems obvious that that's the right thing to do. But send the same person so that we can continue with those same contacts and make better progress. So that's my only statement. I don't have a strong opinion whether or not Ron goes as well. I would support it, but I don't feel strongly about it.
Larry, I know your question at our last meeting was what money has directly come back to Colfax. Did Trinity's answer satisfy that for you, or do you?
That's the answer I expected. Yeah.
Oh, we'll scratch your back, you scratch ours when we need it is kind of what it sounds like.
I think Harry said the right words. We have to pay to play. And if Colfax isn't there, we are pretty easily forgotten. The only other comment I would make regards transportation, I think when we're spending money on transportation in Placer County, that one of the things that isn't considered strongly enough is safety. And it's awfully easy to satisfy the high population and give them new interchanges and roundabouts and whatever. But up in this end of the county, we have a whole different problem, and that is safety. And probably one of the best examples is our school. If we have just for example, a train derailment that starts a fire, what do the kids in the school do? How do they get out of here? And so we have needs, and it's even more true, I think, higher up the mountain. We have trucks getting ready to start fires coming down because they didn't set their brakes or didn't test their brakes. And anyway, I think we deserve more money because of the space that we occupy. And I don't think that the county considers it strongly enough.
I will say on that note, we did have a good conversation about the Sacramento I-80 corridor region and the plan that we're currently developing with Jacobs Consulting. And one of the things that I brought forward this morning was expansion of the study perimeter to include Colfax. Right now, it goes just directly east of Auburn. And there are a few criteria that make the nexus in order for us to have competitive funding. Last year, we were not competitive as a county, and so we were cut out of that funding round. And so I had asked that we do consider Colfax because we do have a couple of projects that, you know, if they are able to be brought into that nexus, it will meet the safety criteria that the state and feds are looking for. It will meet the vehicle miles reduced that we're looking for, especially with the progression on the Capital Corridor work that we're looking for on the rail station. And then in addition to that, making the safety improvements along 80 that, you know, we're looking for that would help with the seasonal flow of traffic with the auxiliary roads that we have on the side. So a lot of the funding pots, you got to get creative with how you lobby them. But when you can make the correct emotional appeal, we do end up seeing a good result from it. And that is part of the reason why we were successful in getting the planning grant from PCTPA. Why we do have them spending all the staff time and money on the small cities legislation and a few other items that are, you know, bringing hundreds of thousands of dollars directly to Colfax because we're showing up, we're helping, we're part of the fight, and we're making sure that our voice is heard and seen consistently.
I'm glad to know that we're pushing safety because it's hard to put a dollar amount on that.
It is.
But when it happens, it's a big number.
Okay, I know we have to get up to bat, otherwise we'll never be able to hit a home run. But unless the city manager really wants to go, I'd like to see him stay here and use the money we're saving to build Jim Bauer's choo-choo clock. That's all.
I think it's important for the city manager to go and get that. We can use some of the money we're saving on fireworks since the 3rd of July and everybody else is not supposed to take this money anymore, apparently. I guess we'll have to put it into that. So I'm in favor. Nobody has anything else. I'll motion to approve the funding for Trinity and city manager to go.
Let me throw in one more thing. Tim is still sitting out there. Tim brought up an idea last time around I think it was during good of the order, about whether or not there is such a thing for California only. And if there is there an equivalent? Do we get in that game also, or do we not?
That would be probably a big part of what we're doing tomorrow night. With the CTA, we're hosting the California Transportation Administration, and so I will be at that meeting tomorrow night to speak with the commissioners and, you know, hopefully make the case for rural. What's that? Ron, did you get an RSVP for that one? I will talk to Matt and see if we can fix that. I think I did put in for an extra ticket. I think I put in for an extra ticket, so if you want to go with me.
Yeah, absolutely happy to go. Just let me know what time.
I did have one more note before we close the item for sure. I wanted to say a lot of folks here might not know this, but you know, in the past, I have been successful in getting some of our other boards within the county to fund sending me on the trip as well. And I would just encourage everybody here, if you're capable of making the sacrifice to go to DC for a week. I know that it's not easy and it's absolutely exhausting, but the more people we have there, the better. And if there are any county boards that you sit on that would be willing and see the reason to send you guys, please look into it, because the more people that we send, the more we can amplify our voice and the more relationships we build. Because again, you're locked in a hotel for a week straight with 500 people from the region who are big players. So you get a lot done in that.
Like getting a drink from a fire hose. I think.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor from Sean. Do we have a second?
I'd like to hear the motion again.
Sean?
Move to approve funding for Trinity and Ron to go to DC.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
They all said aye. Passes. Guess you're going back to DC, guys.
Ahead of that, but sorry, I would like, ahead of the trip though, because we have so much going on in the legislative realm right now, I would like for us to hopefully get something on the agenda in March, whether it's a workshop or otherwise, to try to see what other meetings that we can try to squeeze in on that trip that specifically would benefit Colfax, because with the FEMA funding held up, there are some side meetings that we can request that may be able to help expedite that funding. So if there's anything else that we can figure out to try to squeeze in there, I'd like to have a conversation about that at the appropriate time.
Alrighty, let's see, moving right on, we are on 8D. So this is our council committee assignments that we continued over from January. We should all have our spreadsheet that was emailed out to you guys. So we will start with, do we have any comments from the public in regards to the committee assignments? Okay, so Rebecca, come on up.
Hello, good evening. My name's Rebecca Mazzio, 49 Depot Street. This is my third or fourth time requesting that Caroline not be on the Bianchini board. I think there's a conflict of interest there. I've repeated this several times. I also think that during her 2-year tenure, she's proposed a couple things that are wildly outside the board's scope, which makes me concerned about her reading the bylaws. So I'd prefer literally anyone else, except for Kim, who can no longer serve, unfortunately. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Okay. All right. So do you guys want to go through these committees one by one then, and with what we've got on there, and then we'll go up from there? What page am I on? Okay. So if we start on our page 1, which in your packet was page 57, we have the Placer County Economic Development Board, which is currently Larry with Kim as an alternate. Go ahead. I went to the worksheet, which was page 57. So this is yeah, just go down. You've got the descriptions on them. Up one more, right there. There you go. Okay, so right now we have Larry and Kim on that one. Larry and Kim, is there anybody else that would like to be on that board or to request to be on that one?
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you, Kim, because I had already talked to Carolyn ahead of this meeting, I couldn't approach you about this particular item ahead of the meeting. I know that you are currently an alternate on that board. Would you be willing to allow either myself or Sean, if Sean is interested, to sit on that board? We've got a lot coming up this year, and I'm really hoping that we can try to make a case for us to get into GSAC. Thank you. I'd be happy to take that board unless there's anyone else who also would like that board, but I'm raising my hand.
I remain interested.
Okay, so we'll
I'm
keep.
not really ready to drop it yet, but I'm open to discussion.
Okay. All right, so it sounds like we'll put Larry, keep him as the primary, and then put Trinity as the alternate on that one. Going into WACMAC, it is currently Larry and Kim as well. Do we have any additional conversation for that one? Would anybody else be interested, or are either of you ready to step down from that one, or would you like to keep it?
I'd like to continue. I know all the people now that are on that commission, and I regularly attend their meeting, and I would like to continue just because of, I'll say this again, institutional memory and context.
Okay. Okay, everybody else good with that? Okay, SACOG, it is currently me as the primary and Trinity as the alternate. Does anybody have any questions about leaving it like that, or are you guys good? All right. For Placer County Air Pollution Control District, it is myself as primary and Kim as secondary. I'm happy to continue on that one. It's one that I enjoy. Kim, are you good with staying second? Is anybody else interested or? Nope. Okay. With the mosquito vector control, we have our awesome Will Stockman, who is our primary on that, with Larry as his secondary. Will, did you want to continue on that? Yes, okay. Awesome. Larry, do you want to continue being the second for that one?
Yes.
Okay. For Project Go, I know, Kim, we have you as the primary and Sean as the alternate. Is this one that do they do much with you? Is it? Okay, so we'll leave it on there in the event that they pop in with anything. I haven't heard any committee reports from it, so I'm not sure if they really do much whatsoever with you. Okay.
I would just say, let's just update Sean's name to be
Yes.
spelled correctly.
We'll make sure. I thought the food was senator tonight. All right, PCTPA, it has been Trinity as the primary with Sean as the alternate. In a conversation that, couple conversations that we had, Trinity and I, was to put me in as the alternate on that just because I'm doing SACOG and they are getting very tightly entwined. So if Sean, if you're okay with that. Okay, thank you very much. LAFCO, unless anybody has any objections, I definitely would like to keep Sean on LAFCO because we are deeply entrenched in possibly some of that annexation and I don't want to.
When he's midterm.
Yeah, we don't want to disrupt it either. Yeah, so we'll keep you on after May, so.
Sorry, with the current state of LAFCO, I know that there have been times in the past where we've made some adjustments to board order. Has there been any expressed interest potentially keeping Colfax on through this transition?
Sounds like they're gonna go with the current transition. So we're really trying hard to push through the MSR and SOI before we're off. So I think we're gonna get it done, but
Okay, I'll bring up a different thing later, but
okay.
okay.
Okay, our solid waste task force. Right now it shows Ron as the primary and Sean as the alternate. Kim, would you be interested in taking the primary on that? Our city manager has got a lot on his plate, and if there's anything that we can remove that would work well, I would like to be able to do that. Sorry, and then Sean, are you good with staying the alternate on that one?
And I was gonna say, I'm also interested in that one. So unless Kim has strong feelings and really wants to do it, I do know that there is a lot going on that Wes had been keeping us abreast on regarding the solid waste, and it's gonna be a very document heavy one, so I'm happy to. That would be great.
Okay. Which the solid waste task force then to put Sean as primary and Trinity as secondary. All right, Fire Safe Council. I'm going to assume that Sean would like to keep that one. Okay, Kim, would you like to keep the alternate on that one or good? Okay. Let's see. So League of California Cities, it is currently Kim and Sean. Is anybody else interested in that or we could? Oh, it's mayor.
Yeah, that one's mayor.
That
We don't
stays as the
actually.
mayor. Yep, it stays as
Yeah.
mayor. It was on Monday. It's over till May.
Yeah.
Thanks. So yeah, do we, Kim, are you interested in staying on the League of Cities or? Yeah. Sean, do you want to stay as a secondary or? Okay. Bianchini, Kim was the primary with me as the other one on that one. The suggestion was made to put Sean as the primary and for me to remain as the alt, and we'll go to the second spot on that one.
I would like to comment on that.
Mm-hmm.
For first off, I've been on that Sierra Vista Center board twice. I've been to all their meetings for the last 2 years as the liaison. I've been to the Bianchini board meetings. I have a lot of knowledge about the history of that organization. And I've had a goal, and I know that Trinity shares this as well, of cooperation between the city and Sierra Vista Center. And I feel like I'm the right person to do that, to get that cooperation and not get into any sort of divisiveness like what we've had and what we've seen in these meetings. we've seen board members from both organizations make a request, and I don't want to be personal here, that a certain person or certain people should not be the representatives. And I kind of know where that came from, but I believe that we don't want more divisiveness, that instead what we want is cooperation. And I think I'm the best person to do that. And I believe that I should hold one of those two spots and continue as the liaison as well. There's no conflict. And so that's my statement. I don't know if what this means, but I believe I'm the right person to do it.
I think it would be cool to have the same two people on both, but maybe you guys could like flip flop or something. Like maybe you and Sean, and then one of you is primary, one is secondary, one's secondary, one's primary between the two. Because right now I see Larry and Sean as the Sierra Vista liaisons.
I'm okay with that. I would continue going to the meetings anyway. They're public meetings, and I have a heart for that organization.
The heart is definitely appreciated. I can say that the desire for me not to be there is because I ask questions and point out discrepancies. And that is what is getting the hostility, because there are some things that are quite questionable on my end and have not been able to be proven as valid in my mind. And that's why they don't want me there, because I ask questions. And I think that is something that has to be done, especially when you're dealing with fund that is supposed to be designed for the use of the teens or the kids and the seniors of our community. And that money from that trust, in my mind, is not being used in the best interest of the seniors and the kids. And they don't like me there because I ask questions. I mean, the project that I have asked for right now is that they take the money that is supposed to be given out to the public to be able, or the other organizations, is to open a application process for other nonprofits to be able to apply to use those Bianchini trust funds. And Kim was supposed to be working on that with Red. I don't know if that ever happened since they canceled the meeting that was supposed to be held this Monday.
I could comment on that. They already have a grant request form, and it's been in use for a long time. It's in their computer. So there is a process for that already. We don't need anything new.
Oh,
I'm
in 2
surprised you
years
didn't
I've
know
been there,
that.
It's not been used. It's not been publicized. It's not been shared with the public that it's even an opportunity. Those funds have been solely used by the Sierra Vista to fund the building.
And I'm
And that-
just going to say one thing more. I believe I'm the best qualified, and I believe that we should honor what the community is telling us and give some credence to it. And it's not like it's just been done once. There's been people here from both boards several times. I don't want to make this personal, but I can't see how continuing to do what we're doing is cooperation. And I believe in cooperation. And again, there's a history, lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera. I want to bring the two together, the city and the Sierra Vista Center. And I too ask questions. I've just not been on that board before.
Connor, can we bring in the conversation that you and I had about how to proceed with that board, or is that not appropriate for this conversation?
What's the question?
Well, one of the conversations that I had with Connor was about opening conversations between the city and the trust to review how things are done and to go over the bylaws. It was the email you and I had the other day. And I don't know if you had a chance to reach out to them or not.
It seems like you got ahead of yourself a little bit to me.
Well, just to reiterate the conversation I had with Caroline, there was a question on how the Bianchini board holds meetings. And I provided some advice about that, and it was unclear to me whether the organization had adopted a separate set of bylaws from, there's a trust agreement that governs operation of the board. And then there were references to bylaws, which I could not find in my files. And there was an open question on whether there's a separate set of bylaws that might provide some additional rules. And
I think there's somebody out there in the room that can answer that question.
okay,
I believe.
so that was the unanswered question on my end, and I haven't answered that question, and therefore I have no recommendation on whether the board may or may not have violated its bylaws. That's kind of where I'm at on that one. So I'm sorry if that's not extremely helpful here.
Well, if it's okay, I'd kind of like to call out the elephant in the room. Right now, I think we have multiple very qualified council people who are very capable of sitting on the board. I have a lot of confidence in Sean and the fact that if Sean sees something that's not right, he will call it out. He won't be quiet about it. With that being said, there's definitely tension there between the Bianchini board and Carolyn. I think it's hard to make a decision there that doesn't feel personal when, a person feels like they're very qualified to do something and they feel like, their pushback is the reason why someone doesn't want them in that role. And so I guess the question really is, Carolyn, do you feel comfortable deferring to any of the other council members to handle that on your behalf? Any of the concerns you've brought up and the things that, you want followed up on? Or do you have a specific lack of confidence in any of the council members to follow through with any of those initiatives? Because, if we want to maybe frame it from a different angle, we can maybe look at that instead of looking at the existing tension, because obviously we want to find a place where we get past that.
Well, we're just the assigned members on the board, so she can ask any questions as a city council member and do whatever she needs to, regardless of being on the board or not.
And that's kind of my thought is.
But I think she's good on the board too. So she's done a lot of digging and a lot of work. So I support her being an alternate.
Yeah, and to Larry's point, I know Larry really wants to be on the board. It sounds like you really want to be the alternate as well. I think Larry does bring up some good merit that he has the ability to bring an olive branch, and maybe that might be a good thing to bring the olive branch and have the accountability plus the olive branch. I'm just trying to think of ways that we can try to move forward, and
I think Sean can do just the same.
I think so.
Sean's a great negotiator.
And it sounds like in the past, from my understanding, and please correct me if I'm misunderstanding, it sounds like these last couple of years, Kim, you deferred a bit to Carolyn because traditionally the alternate is just someone who subs in for the primary, but it sounds like Carolyn was in a lot of ways.
This is not a primary alternate situation. There are two
So this
equally.
Is
Both.
okay, so that's a huge amount of context
Two
missing.
people are board members, yeah. And it's a 2-year term. Well, according to the trust agreement that I've looked at in the bylaws, there's an adjustment and they are 2-year terms, I believe. And we have somebody in the room that can answer the question. So
What's the data? Because there are multiple versions of the trust agreement. Okay. I think that's right, Larry.
there's one for 1 and one for 2?
No, there are 2 1-year terms.
Oh, no, I see. Yes, there are 2 1-year terms for each person.
The city council gets 2 seats on the Bianchini board. Each seat is a 1-year term.
Right. For a maximum of 3 terms.
For a maximum of 3 terms.
What happens if we have all council members who've already served 3 terms at some point? Because I've already served 3 terms. So I'm not eligible to sit on it. What happens if we get to that point? I think it might be a good time to consider that once we get people on the board.
So my question to be, is that 3 years in a row or 3 years period? Because does it call that out or is it just an interpretation? It's just.
In baseball, they have a lot of good pitchers sometimes.
Hold on, Harry. We can go back to public comment in a minute, but we need to finish this before
I just want to leave it with that.
Harry, we're not doing public comment on it right now, so I need you just to hold, please.
Okay.
Okay, because we got to finish the discussion here. So if you want to have a seat, you can absolutely do it when we get toward the end.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Okay. I do have one more term left on it. They could absolutely be rid of me in a year without a doubt, but there is, a project that I had asked that get started that Kim was supposed to be starting on with Red, and I would like to be able to see it followed through. If there is already an application, that's great. When we had the last meeting, there was no conversation had from the previous members that there was an application that was currently in use, and it has not been used in the 2 years that I have been there. So I would like to see that actually come to fruition and those funds offered to the other organizations.
And 2 people were assigned to look into that. And they didn't have their meeting that they would have had on Monday of this week because there was nobody appointed. Our appointments ran out and they postponed their meeting for a month. And so I believe that that work is done. I mean, I've spoken to one of the people on the board and they're aware that there's a grant application in their computer. So there really is no new work there.
So I believe the board can still meet, even if the city council has not appointed members to the board. If there's a quorum, the board can meet. The city council members hold over in their term until a new member is appointed. I don't think the fact that the city council had not taken action to appoint new members to the board means the board did not have power to meet.
I don't want to misstate. They chose not to meet, which is their choice, right?
One, let's get clarified. First off, they didn't ask to push it off for a month. They asked to push it off for 3 months till April. And there was only one individual who didn't want to hold that meeting. Kim, myself, and Foxy were all happy to meet last Monday or next Monday. So that would be 3 out of the 5 that requested to hold the meeting. Only one said they did not want to hold it and push it off till April. And on top of that, it does concern me that you're in the middle of that conversation because that was a conversation that Kim and I were having. She was part of this conversation. So it's not one that you should have been in reality.
I'm just going to say this.
Mhm.
One of the things I believe in strongly is cooperation. And I'm already seeing divisiveness from you, and you haven't gone to a meeting yet even. And I'll say no more. Maybe we need to vote on this if we have a difference of opinion.
I think maybe we should,
You can pull that
Pull
one and we
it.
can discuss it more and we can continue on with the appointments
Okay.
and
yeah,
pull it,
I was gonna say, I think. we
appoint
can
it separate.
We can pull that one and we will come back around to it. That's fine.
Pull it till when?
We'll just. All right, so we will come back to that one. I'm gonna highlight it so I make sure.
And then I'm gonna ask, we also come back with that one to the Sierra Vista Community Center liaison, because with that one, part of the reason I was suggesting we have the same 2 people on both is because of exactly what we just pointed out can happen when we have 2 entities that are so deeply intertwined, like the Sierra Vista Center and the Bianchini. And we've got 3 different council members that are split among the 2 different boards. It does make for an opportunity for inadvertent third wheeling of meetings. And so if we're able to come to a resolution, I'd like to talk about those 2 together so we can try to eliminate future Brown Act issues if we can.
All right, so we'll skip over that. We will go down to the Colfax School Liaison. Would be the next one. So this one currently has Trinity and Sean on it. Sorry, I forgot to turn on my microphone. So the Colfax School Liaison currently has Trinity and Sean. I know we haven't heard much from it. I don't know what you guys have done with it recently. But you are the 2 that have kids at the school, if I recall. So, I mean, I still think you guys, no, that's right. That's right. I forgot.
Apparently I'm gonna have.
I'm so
little children
jealous.
Till I'm 60, but, no, but I do have a meeting scheduled and set up right now with the new principal, so,
Good.
or I should say we're nailing down a date with the administrator, but, I'd say it's still active. If Sean wants to continue working on that, he's always been great as the partner on that one, so.
Okay. All All right, Pioneer, we have Sean and Kim as the alternate. Sean, I believe you wanted to keep on Pioneer. Kim, did you want to stay as the alternate on that one or? Good. Okay, thank you. On the Water District, that one is Sean with me as the alternate. I'm happy to stay on that one and I think Sean, you're good. Okay, makes complete sense. Let's see, on SCORE, that will be hopefully our new ASO. Once they get up and running with, our city manager as the alternate on that one.
I wanted to ask about that one with the
Mhm.
ASO because prior to us being in our current situation, our ASO was in-house. And so I'm just curious if sending someone to Anderson for this meeting is potentially going to have a fiscal impact we should be aware of before we appoint the new ASO to that board.
The new SAO will be an employee of the city, so she will be in-house, yeah.
So under her new contract structure, us sending her is not going to have an additional.
No, just additional like we would have paid Shanna, either mileage or hotel stay if she needed to stay.
Beautiful. That's all I had.
So there's a couple on here that we had put up, we just put a mark on discussion. I'm gonna do the skate park real quick and then we'll come back to those. So right now, the skate park is Sean as the primary and me as the alternate. And I think especially with where we're at on dealing with that, I think it's best to keep that steady if you guys are okay with that. Okay. All right, so a lot of these that are on discussion, these have been on our committee list and we don't normally hear much from them. So it was a conversation of, do we keep them on here? Should we go ahead and actually just pull them off? Because they really are not very active. And if we do get any requests to bring them back, we can of course address that. We have quite a few of those on here that have just, they're pretty stagnant. So the idea is just to pull them right off. And then if we do need to bring them back, of course, we can add committees at any point in time. So the first one on that list is the Placer Regional Homeless Action Plan Ad Hoc, and that was Sean and Kim. Is there anything that's been done with that in the last, I don't know, 18 months or?
The county hasn't had a meeting on it recently.
Okay, so are we good to, we'll just wipe that one off, and if they do call for one, we can appoint
Yeah.
at that time?
Yeah, we should be able to make that, or we can just show up at the meeting. and-
I mean, I don't see any harm in leaving it on here
Oh.
since it's not our committee.
We have, there's a lot of things that are on here that I just don't think we need to keep them on.
Yeah.
For the sake of saying we're on them when nothing's been happening on them in ages.
Well, to that point, I would say the Colfax Bike Park
That's
thing.
the next one, yeah.
I would say, I honestly think we should go ahead and pull that one off.
Yep.
Because that's not something as a current active effort. We haven't heard from the proponent in a year.
Okay.
I don't see any reason to leave it on there.
Yeah, Kim, that one's your board. Are you comfortable with us just going ahead and pull it off until somebody approaches us and wants to bring it up again? Okay, so we will pull the bike park off.
Madam Mayor, for clarification,
Mhm.
what did we do with the one above that, the Placer Regional Homeless?
We're
Is it
gonna go ahead and
already-
pull that off and until the county pipes up and says they need something, we'll just remove that one from the list. Emergency services. So this has been Trinity and Sean, but we haven't really heard anything of it. Is there anything we're doing with it? What is the status on this particular one?
This one is an ongoing one that happens once every couple of years. I think it's good to leave it on there just because it has to do with contract negotiations.
Yeah, it should be on as an ad hoc
Yeah,
instead of primary alternate.
so yeah, it shouldn't say Sean is an alternate because it's literally just the two of us.
Okay.
Yep.
So.
Okay, and so you guys want to go ahead and stay as both
Yeah.
on there and we'll leave that on there? Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll leave the emergency services and
Just mark it
remove
as an ad hoc.
the alternate designation on that one.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so our council policy ad hoc, which is you and I, Trinity, which we haven't had a chance to do much.
That one,
Are we gonna-
obviously, I know right now Connor is working on
Yep.
the template.
Mm-hmm.
So we're waiting on that. I think we do leave that one
Okay.
alone. We do need to fix on all these ad hocs. I don't know at what point the word alternate got added,
been
but
on
when
there.
it's an ad hoc committee of the council, there's literally the whole committee is the two people on there. So to say primary alternate makes no sense.
Okay,
I don't know who goofed that one, but
yeah, it's been there for a while.
She said.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one's, I remember seeing that on there.
But ultimately, I would say on any of them that are subcommittee ad hocs, we need to make sure we do remove the alternate on there.
The next two go together hand in hand, it seems like. And so we have the Youth Commission Selection Committee and then the actual Colfax Youth Commission. And it's only been 2.5 years. I have not seen anything done with this youth commission. I know we have Larry and Kim sitting on it. And my opinion is we need to either actually do this
Yes.
or we need to make it go away. at
So
this
I can
point.
speak to that.
Okay.
So there has been a shuffle of administration the last couple years with the elementary school and the high school that have had them say, hey, we need to put this off till 2026. We're not ready. We've got a lot of other efforts underway. So now that's part of what I'm scheduled to meet with the new principal for the high school about is getting this going. I am happy to say, let's go ahead and remove the current assignments as it stands right now, just so that, once I get that firm commitment from the schools that they're going to actively participate and, allow this to be coordinated, then we should make the assignments at that time. But until then, I'm perfectly happy with wiping both the selection committee and well, I would say maybe just put on hold for youth commission because I don't want us to lose track of the, hey, we'll have 3 high schoolers and then 2 middle schoolers part of it. But maybe put youth commission on hold and then the youth commission selection committee is later TBD. We'll deal with that at that time.
Okay, so Larry and Kim, since you are the two that are on that at this time, are you okay if we just remove the assignments and then if we do get these backing up, we'll bring it back to the council to decide
Yes.
who? Okay, thank you very much. All right, so committee selection, we'll remove. Okay, so the private development service, the ad hoc committee, that was Trinity and Kim. Have we done anything as of recent? Can we go ahead and just remove it
We can get rid of
completely?
that.
Are you? Yeah, okay. So private development service fee ad hoc committee will be removed from the list. Okay, so then the last one we have is, or for discussion, is the revitalization of historic downtown Colfax, the ad hoc. And that is Sean and Larry. Do we have an update? Have you guys done anything with this? Where are we at on it? Because of course, it's a topic that we're all very hot on, but I don't know what you guys have actually been able to do with it.
I think as needed is appropriate, until we have some money. I have some thoughts that I'd like to present at some time, but they're not quite complete yet.
Okay, well, my request is let's do something with it then, because it's a great topic, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's go somewhere. Yes, Trinity.
I was just gonna say it transitions really smoothly into the new folks that we're also trying to pull in for that separate commission. So potentially we could recycle your guys' appointment onto that as well. Would be ideal in my mind.
Okay, so we will keep that one. Shady Glen. It had been Trinity and I both, and the suggestion was to put myself with Sean as the alternate on that because he was deeply working with LAFCO on our expansion, and it makes sense to put those hand in hand if you are okay with that, Trinity.
So I would like to stay on that one, and if Sean wants to be the new alternate, or if he even wants to be the primary, I'm good with that. But I am pretty committed to that one, so I would like to remain on that one.
I like your inputs first, so.
I'm good either way. I can do the LAFCO stuff without being on there if you want to stay on and help tie it together.
If I may weigh in unsolicitedly here,
Please do.
it'd be helpful to have the person spearheading the sphere of influence and annexation discussions on that committee.
Well, yeah, and that's actually how this originally started because Sean was the alternate for LAFCO when Colfax was in an alternate position. And then when I became mayor, it was the same year that we came into having a regular position on LAFCO. And the city selection committee put me on LAFCO. And then they kept me on there. And then when Sean was mayor, it transitioned back to Sean. Sean is in the process of finishing his term on LAFCO with that sphere of influence. So it is this particular, the Shady Glen sewer integration has seeped through both of our terms on LAFCO. So I do think that would be a very appropriate appointment to have Sean join me on that one.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah, that would be we'll go ahead and pull me off of that one and put,
And that one shouldn't be I apologize. That one shouldn't be a primary alternate either, That one is a subcommittee of council. It's an ad hoc. So it is two of us with equal standing.
Yep, so then we'll change Shady Glen to be Sean and Trinity, and there is no alternate on that one. Makes complete sense. And then the Economic Development Committee, I believe this is what you guys were working on with the sign that falls under the branding that you were working on in your applications. Or do we want to just blend this in with the revitalization and make those two one and the same?
That's kind of what I was suggesting. And if, Sean and Larry want to, I don't want to have two ad hocs that essentially serve the same purpose. So I'm happy to step aside and have that be Sean and Larry and just wrap them together if you guys are good with that.
It's okay, but economic development is broader than downtown revitalization. I mean, they're similar, but
Absolutely. But
it
with me,
includes the whole city.
Mr. Economic Development Board,
I am,
it makes
yes.
sense for me to step back on this and let you guys.
Okay with me, yeah.
So which name do you want to keep? Because if we're going to merge them into one, do we just keep it with economic development overall and that
Yeah.
can include? Okay, so that being the case, we will remove the revitalization ad hoc committee and we'll just stick with economic development. And then we'll keep it Sean and Larry. And once again, there's no alternate on that. All right. Okay.
Yeah, so for Bianchini, Sierra Vista, I think, my one strong point on that is I do think it would be appropriate to have whoever we're gonna appoint, have it be the same two people for both, just to ensure we do not end up having, inadvertent issues of serial meetings. So, maybe everyone can let me know what they think on that, whether you guys agree or disagree.
I think the liaison is what, a primary and an alternate. I mean, I've been the one that's doing this. I've been going to all the meetings. I would like to continue. I have a good relationship with all the people that are there. I've been to their meetings. I get along with everybody. I would like to continue that. And again, we do need an alternate. So I don't know how we can work that out. Is it Sean? Or who? Yeah, I mean, we could easily go back and forth just on our own.
Well, except for Bianchini, it's not an alternate. The two are actually assigned.
I understand that.
So, okay, so you're meaning to swap on the Sierra Vista. While I've sat here and pondered this, and I didn't think about this when I originally looked at this list, at having Sean on both. On one hand, I see the value in your point of the continuity between the two, but part of the questions that have been raised is that there's too much continuity between those two organizations. And so I think having different people keeps things far clearer and not muddling anything.
What
Because
questions are those you're talking about?
how the funding is being used and how the funding is being promoted to all the organizations that should be allowed to be using it and have access to it. So I mean, I think, and I definitely get Trinity's concern where it comes into, Brown Act concerns. But I think there's a lot of overlap as it is between the Sierra Vista board and those that are involved in the building itself and also on the Bianchini. And I think,
And to that point, wouldn't it strengthen the
An interjection here. It is 3 consecutive terms, not 3 terms period. At least the version of the trust agreement I'm looking at. Yeah. So that might add some flexibility to your decision.
I'm sorry, what was that? Is it possible for me to make it? Absolutely. SBCC of the trust needs to be. Yeah. Pardon me, sorry, yeah, that way it's reported and.
Sure.
Yeah, SVCC are the trustees of the Bianchini Board. They're not separate the way that you're describing them. Like, that's not how that works. So the Bianchini Board is simply an advisory board to the SVCC, who are the trustees. Like, all we do is advise to SVCC. We don't create applications. That's not within our bylaws. It's not within our rules. That's a trustee's job. So I don't care that you bring up questions. What I'm concerned about is that you haven't read the bylaws. You don't know what's happening. This is a prime example. So just to clarify.
I'm just having a moment of frustration about our poor documentation. I was trying to help Ron with this last week, and we were going through the city SharePoint, and it's a dumpster fire.
Yep.
Because I have my own, I should probably know better by now, the structure, how this works. I have never seen another organization structured with a trust in the way that this one is. And I would be lying if I said it is not extremely confusing to me.
It's not at all straightforward, the way the document is written. It's really confusing.
Measure T, which year?
Measure T was in
2000. I think it was 2000.
2000?
2000,
Okay.
2001.
Mhm. Right.
This thing's in.
Oh, I have no doubt on that. Right.
You guys are. Yeah, so please read everything before making these.
Well, in the last week since we had our conversation, there has been a very concentrated effort to go through the city files to find the most current bylaws that there are. Go ahead, we're gonna.
Ma'am, I actually don't know your name. Rebecca Moncito? Mazio. And what's your role with Sierra Vista or Bianchini? You're the secretary of the Bianchini board. Maybe I can reach out to you after the meeting and just get the most current version of this agreement and figure out whether there are any bylaws. I know I should have it. And I've been looking for the most current version, and I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right documents.
Yeah, no, trust me, they've spent quite a few hours going between mixed files and the stuff that's already in the SharePoint. Like Trinity said, it's a doozy going through there, where they've done lots of searches to try to find everything that they had for you in regards to it. So they have not ignored it in the least little bit, I promise.
In case there are any questions, I have a copy of that trust agreement and I've read it.
Well, it's not the trust agreement, I think. I mean, there's a couple versions of it that we have, but it also is the bylaws as well. And the city doesn't seem to have a copy of them that we have been able to locate at this time. And that's what they've been working on.
Oh, I do.
Okay, point of order. Public comment needs to be made at a microphone so it's recorded for the meeting minutes. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
So to be clear, we do not have a seat as the city on the Sierra Vista board. We have a liaison and we have 2 seats on the Bianchini advisory board. So all of our seats are nothing more than a inspection point, really, when I think about it.
It's not clear to me that the Bianchini board is entirely advisory. I am not prepared to say what the powers of the board are, but I'm not sure I agree with this statement that the Bianchini board is entirely advisory.
Then can we make the motion then to accept the rest of the committees and let this one sit so that you can do a little bit more research on it and get together with Rebecca and whatever additional documentation that she would like to provide or can provide for you?
I don't think so. Why are we delaying? Why would we delay?
Because at this point, there is a question about what the actual intent of the Bianchini advisory
The
board
trust
is.
agreement lays it out and the Sierra Vista Center owns the money. So what I don't understand what the questions are. We have bylaws, we have two sets of bylaws, in fact, and we have a trust agreement. So why are there any questions?
Because the city attorney does not have those bylaws to be able to review them at this time. And we've been reviewing the trust. And there are some questions in regards to what the role is. If I'm interpreting what you said correctly, Connor, you can please feel free to correct me.
So the item before the city council tonight is whether to appoint, or is who to appoint to the board. And we know that there's two seats. We know that it's a one-year term. I think you probably have enough information to appoint two people if that's what you'd like to do. If you'd like to continue this item and wait on a memo from me, I'm happy to, that's another perfectly valid option. I'm happy to provide that memo. I know Mick has done a lot of work, or he did a lot of work on this organization. And there's quite a bit in his files analyzing the way these two organizations were set up and interact. So if you would like a more comprehensive opinion on how this setup is supposed to work, it's perfectly okay to make a decision to continue the appointment of the Bianchini board members until a future meeting. You can do either one. But to be clear, the item before the council tonight is who to appoint to a one-year term. So I think that part at least is clear.
I believe we could appoint two people and in parallel, figure out what we need to know about the trust agreement. I don't see any need for a delay.
You could do that too. That's also a good option.
Now knowing that it says, continuous as opposed to forever, 3 terms, I can also throw out a third. What's that? Consecutive. I'll also go ahead and just throw out an alternative proposal. We could do a temporary appointment. I would be happy to take a temporary appointment as the second person with Sean until we can figure this out, and then go from there if that's, a more neutral solution so we can move forward and not end up in a holdover position.
Okay, does that work?
What do we gain by that?
It gives Carolyn the time to consider whether she wants to essentially fight for the board position. And, we're not forcing it to a vote without due consideration, but then we're still putting somebody into the position so meetings can proceed without us continuing to throw fuel on the fire in what we're currently working with. So that way everybody can be fully educated and we can get on the same page. And then hopefully by the next meeting or wherever we choose to pull this up next, then we can make an actual appointment for the rest of that 1-year term. Because I'll tell you, I do not want to sit on this for a whole year, but I am happy to sit on it for a month until we can figure this out.
I mean, I have to admit, I don't see the need. We might as well just not appoint anybody yet and wait for something.
And ultimately, if you guys want to make a motion, we can throw it to a vote. I mean, we're not as stuck as we think we are. We're just.
Well, I've stated my opinion enough times. I'm not going to say anything more.
That will. It's
Can we at least, I'm gonna make a motion that we appoint Sean. Can we at least agree on that?
Absolutely.
So motion to appoint Sean to the Bianchini board.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
okay. Hang on. This agreement doesn't provide for it doesn't provide for a temporary trustee. The count. Well, that's what I'm wondering. the council is, well, it doesn't provide, it doesn't say anything about the selection process. It just says that the city council shall have two members who are appointed to two members for a one-year term. Frankly, I'd be more comfortable if you continued the item and left the current members as holdovers. I think that's more consistent with I think that's more consistent with how boards generally work. If an office is not filled, the person currently in office stays in office until a new member is selected.
Well, this Korean government applies to this particular.
Well, right. It's, yeah, and I looked into this, and trusts are governed by their terms. And
So I would just say, just because of the ambiguity of the trust and the fact that it has already been asserted, whether right or wrong, that a meeting couldn't be held, I do think it would be safer to make some kind of an appointment tonight until we figure it out further. And we have every right to come back and make changes at the next meeting, no matter what we do here tonight. And I'm open to a lot of options. I've thrown out, I'm happy to assist as a temporary, as an interim board member. I would just say, ultimately, I hear two very strong opinions here at the dais. Someone's got to make a motion, either to continue or to make an appointment.
if you want to do an interim appointment, that seems like a reasonable solution. Appoint someone. So would this just be appointing somebody for the next Bianchini meeting? Is that the idea? Appoint someone for 1 month so the board can meet?
That was the suggestion.
As opposed to having the current officers attend the meeting on behalf of the city?
I'm just trying to give everybody a chance to cool down, be fully educated on the correct version of the bylaws. And then we go from there, because right now it is very heated. And, Larry does make a good point about we want to reduce fractionalization. I don't hear a lot of reducing fractionalization happening in the room tonight. So if we need to all take it back, understand where we're going from here, that's fine. But like I said, either way, someone's got to make a motion. Otherwise, we're just going to sit deadlocked for pondering it.
We have no ability to change the trust, though. For example, I don't think we can continue. We can continue Caroline for sure, but I mean, Kim's clock ran out, and that's fixed, and we can't change it even if we wanted to.
I move to appoint Caroline.
Just a side point. And we've already
Is that
appointed Sean.
Sean?
Yep, that was a motion. I moved to appoint Caroline as a second. And I've already been appointed as the primary, or the first appointee.
Right, so we have a motion. Can I second my own motion?
Yep.
All right, then I'm gonna second Sean's motion then. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Sounds like we may need to do a roll call. Can we do one, please? Thank you.
This is a roll call vote for item 8D, council assignments to the Bianchini board. Motion made by Councilmember Lohman, second by Councilmember McCauley. Councilmember Burris,
No.
Councilmember Douglas,
No.
Councilmember Lohman,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg,
No.
Mayor McCauley. Motion fails.
Move to appoint Larry as the second for the Bianchini board.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Larry is seconded. Let's go ahead and do a roll call just to keep it continuing. Thank you.
Roll call vote for Councilmember Lohman and Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg to the Bianchini board. Councilmember Burris,
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas,
Yes.
Councilmember Lohman,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg,
Yes.
Mayor McCauley.
No.
Motion passes.
So all of the other items, do we need to do a motion for all the rest of them? Because they're just a sec,
Staff
has all the directions, so.
have direction.
Yep.
At this point, if you'd like to do a formal motion, you can, but I think.
Think we're
Ron, you have
good?
what you need? Okay. Ron has what he needs. I've taken.
Okay.
notes.
Great. Move to approve all additional.
He's gonna motion it. All right. All right, we have a move to approve everything else. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
thank you very much. All right, so moving right along to 8E, that is the town hall meeting schedule. City manager, let's go ahead and you can introduce it and then we'll go from there.
Thank you. Mayor McCollum is requesting the city council discuss holding regular town hall meetings to help the council govern more effectively by keeping makers connected to the people while they serve. Gosh, I'm getting tired. People they serve while reinforcing transparency, trust, and community cohesion.
Thank you, sir. I put this on there because we have a lot of dialogue that likes to happen back and forth during our council meetings. And it's not always when it's supposed to be occurring, for one. And also, I think giving our constituents a regularly scheduled forum to be able to come and converse with us back and forth. It's nothing, not any meetings that require any action to be had. It's just so that we can have these conversations. They are obviously going to be, listed as public meetings and advertised to everybody. Per our city attorney's guidance, he says we do still have to pick a general topic of discussion for each of the meetings.
Strategic planning.
Yes, exactly. We'll come up with a wonderful broad topic. But the desire was really to just make it so that we are able to engage in dialogue back and forth with our constituents, which is something that our community seems to enjoy. And we seem to let happen a little bit more at council meetings. And Connor seems to think we're supposed to let happen, and I understand that. So the request was for us to hold meetings pretty much on the even months. So we would start in February and just do them regularly scheduled. It would be, the idea I had was either the first or the third week. So it's opposite of our council meetings. We can stick with Wednesday nights if that works in your guys' schedule, or it's completely flexible. But really just to give it so our community members have a chance to come and dialogue back and forth, and hopefully we can build some attendance on that one and some interaction other than just on Facebook. So that was the desire of it. We will start with any comments from the public on that one. Yep, go ahead, Harry.
Harry Anderson. I think it's a great idea. I really do. I think it's a great idea. And I think it might start small with attendance because of one of the elements in here, it talks about trust. And one of the things that isn't really said because they never show up here, they don't want to, but in some of the businesses, they're afraid to. Because if they take a stance, then they suffer business-wise. And so to gain that trust, there has to be no vindictive retribution. That's really what it's going to come down to. I mean, all of these items on here are very important and essential to get what you want and to help you govern. But they're going to have to see some consistency and no blowback that scares them from wanting to come in. And then if you have no attendance, then it's really easy to say it's not worth it. So to me, I think it's a great idea. I read all of this. I thought this is really awesome. We just got to get the trust to come in the door. That's it. Like taking over a restaurant that had a horrible reputation, you got to rebuild it. So I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any additional public comment? No? Okay, back to the council. Questions, thoughts, willingness, yes, no? When it would work for you on a schedule? Are you good with doing it every other month? Like I said, we'll just do it the even numbered months because February is an even number and
That, yeah, I was gonna say that or quarterly.
My fear with quarterly is people forgetting things. So that's why I figured if we just did something super consistent and fairly frequent, that was the thought.
Sounds like a good idea.
I love the idea. I think it's a great idea. It's like public comment where we can engage. So I love it. The more public comment, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
We are definitely all guilty of engaging on the public comment when we're not supposed to, but I know we all want to. So I thought if we gave us a way to be able to do it, it would.
Technically, we're not prohibited from it because technically we have not adopted any.
I think we're working on that one.
I will say, despite the technical discrepancy, I think this is a brilliant idea, Carolyn.
Well, thank you. So if we do it on the even months, I'd probably say not in December. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and we'll leave 12 out of it because there's enough going on. Do you guys want to keep it on the Wednesday night? Like I said, I was thinking of either the first or the third week, so it's opposite of our council meetings. Thinking of your schedules, do you want to just stick with the Wednesday or is there a different day? I can see Trinity's thinking of her schedule right now.
Well, I was just thinking, because I don't want to conflict with any of our other board assignments. I know obviously we've got the MAC meetings that happen on the third Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay.
Once per quarter.
Right,
And
so
they do happen in this room.
I was kind of thinking there, I think it would, personally, I think it would be nice to have it directly after a council meeting, so people are already fired up, you know, so they want to come and speak. Thursday nights sound kind of nice, in my opinion.
Well, I know Sean has the fire is on a Thursday, isn't it?
Council is the fourth Thursday.
But it's the 4th, so, okay.
So maybe if it's like the second Thursday or.
So you're thinking to keep it on a council week?
That's my thought, is if we do it on a council week, then people are already kind of like engaged and fired up and wanting to show up.
That'd have to be the second Thursday of every month to miss all the board appointments
Okay.
or the stuff that's happening in the council chambers.
I think so.
Because quarterly, they're the third Wednesday, and then we're the fourth Thursday. So the fourth Thursday would be out for the council meetings.
Well, so with that, then that would mean our second Wednesday would be council and second Thursday would be
Town hall.
the town hall. Yeah, and it would be, like I said, every other month, so. Does that work for you guys to do the 2 nights back to back, just a couple times?
Sure.
Does that work in your schedule?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it work. I had 4 choices on what to do tonight. And so I chose my favorite.
Yeah,
We are honored that you picked us.
That's like the only night of the week I don't have something, so regularly, so perfect.
Great. So do you need to send Jessica a text real quick to make sure she's not planning date night on that night or something? The honey-do list isn't set automatically for it. Okay, so then we will go ahead and schedule our first one for Thursday, February 12th, because our meeting is on the 11th. And city manager and I will work on how to phrase it as agenda. Connor will sign off on it to make sure it's broad enough that we can have a somewhat an open dialogue. State of the city discussion. There you go, however you want to do it. Okay, so we will schedule that. Do we want to stick with the 6 o'clock? Do we want to maybe go like 6:30 so we give a little bit more time for people to get here from work? Because the goal is really to make it easy for the public to get here as much as possible. You want to stick with 6?
Easy to remember.
Okay.
And we'll make sure public participation online is still.
Well, normally when we do workshops, I don't think we usually do them online. So
And
it would
that's
be
a new thing, and I don't like that new thing. I think it's very important anytime we're having an open and noticed meeting that we are making sure it's published in all the same formats as any other open noticed meeting. That's I feel very strongly about that because people were very upset the last time we held a workshop and they couldn't join, and I don't want to do that. I want to make sure we have equal access for all meetings.
And also for conflicts, it would be less harmful to miss a town hall meeting than it would be to miss a council meeting. So it's not like we have to make every single one, even if we want to.
But I do want to make sure the public has every opportunity.
Well, and I mean, for town halls, normally I would think, Connor, you wouldn't need to be in attendance on those. If we were gonna Zoom, then we would either have to decide to spend the funding to have our
Technically,
lovely-
state law
what we
says
can
that
do.
if we do not have a city clerk available,
Right.
that the city manager is actually required to appoint a council member to act as the interim city clerk. That's what the government code says. So,
So who wants to be the tech person to run this?
well, they'll get
Well,
voluntold.
Dell's been writing very specific details on instructions on how to make it work. Okay. Okay. Well, then I guess we'll set it up so we can do the Zoom, but one of us can make that work, I suppose. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Just gotta have the logins.
I said
Okay.
beautiful Excel file for you.
Okay. So we don't need a motion for that, right?
No, you
Nope.
gave step direction.
Perfect.
We're good.
Good. All right. That brings us back to we're down to the end. It's good of the order. Right? Making sure I didn't miss anything. Good of the order. Sean, anything?
Sorry, I missed the soup cook-off. I was bummed. It all looked really good. I had something that came up in the last second. So, you know, but great event. Glad it was packed.
You came to the other one, so we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
All right. And I walked by as it was getting set up at least. So, you know, stop and said, that was all. Thanks.
Larry?
Yeah, Harry already brought up what I would like to ask. Oh. Oops.
Go ahead.
It's really easy. I believe that we should have a status presentation on the hotel, you know, a little more detail. Give us all a better idea where things stand because it's so important to this town. And it probably needn't be lots of detail or anything like that,
No.
but I would like to know.
I will say, Lisa, we did have a meeting this week and several conversations, and hopefully tomorrow there should be some more action on it, but as soon as there's some solid to it, it's getting there. So we had some very good conversations with the contractors and
Even closer than we were last week.
yeah, way closer than we were on Saturday. So it's getting there. All right, Kim, we'll backtrack.
I was going to say that the citizens of Colfax should be proud of their council members that we're jostling for position, sometimes in a heated manner, but it's to serve on a non-paying seat. And so they should be proud of us.
There's nothing wrong with passion. All right, Trinity?
You know, Kim actually just reminded me of something. I wasn't going to say anything, but sorry, I'm going to drag this out. So my husband has been getting on me for years because I have come in here and repeatedly over and over and over and over been super anti raising council stipends. I've been against the council getting laptops. I've been against us having, you know, anything that could be constituted as any kind of a raise. But he brought up a point within the last year that a couple of people also shared with me, that part of the reason why we might not have a lot of people super interested in participating in governance is because of the amount of crap you have to put up with and the fact that you have to make a lot of sacrifice of your personal time, and the amount of compensation we get doesn't even cover a tank of gas. And so, you know, I know Kim has brought up in the past potentially raising council stipends, and as I'm not planning to run again, I think this is a good opportunity for me to say that I've really reconsidered my position on that. If it could potentially bring in more very eligible candidates to make that sacrifice, because at least it would then hopefully cover a tank of gas. You know, I would be open to having that conversation. But ultimately, I do think that there is something to be said about someone who knows what they're getting into, who knows that this is not a compensated position, who knows that this is the most glorified volunteer work you're ever going to do, and doing it anyway. I lied. Firefighting. But you know, you get called the honorable, and I always kind of laugh when that comes up, especially when people at work ask me about it, because I feel the need to heavily downplay it because it's not this glorious thing that people think it is. It's a lot of, you know, a lot of getting dirty. And I would be open to having that conversation. I'm not saying I'm sold on it, but I am open to having that conversation to see if there are people in our community that, would be willing to start running who are very qualified, because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who are extremely well qualified who'd say, hey, if it could at least be $200 a month instead of $100 a month, then maybe I'd be willing to do it. So I'm open to the conversation. I just wanted to say that out loud because I've been kind of a jerk about it for years and years and years. And I recant. But
Well, and to add to that, you have 3 spots that are open that we need
Yep.
people that are willing to run for.
and no one ran in the last one.
No
except
one
for you
wanted
guys.
to run in the last one. So we are
Sad.
absolutely, whether it's any of the 3 of you that choose to want to run again, but we definitely need some additional members from the public to be willing to sit behind here, and you do it because you love your community
Mhm.
and you want to help build it to be something fantastic. And most of the time, I want to say it goes relatively smooth. Sometimes you're a punching bag. It happens. So, if that gets the conversation open, we have a public forum we're going to start, and they can have those conversations. So, and I know there's limits as to how much we can raise it at a time. We've had some of those conversations.
So like the maximum for our population is like $600. So it's still not a huge amount, but again, if it maybe encourages more people to run, because it's one thing that you guys did not have opposition, especially since you were newly appointed and you guys were coming in and kicking butt and taking names, that made sense. But if we come around to this year and no one's wanting to run, and then all 3 of us are feeling like we have to run again, and then there's no one running against us, I don't want that. That's not okay. We need people who are going to jump in and do this work, because government is not a separate entity than the people. We are the community, and the community should feel like it is not an impenetrable barrier to get involved and to step up and get elected and serve their community. And people should feel encouraged to get involved and do this work.
Mhm.
And I would love to see that interest early, so we can at least start transitioning a lot of that institutional knowledge to people. So when they run, they are prepared to engage in debates, and they are well educated on the history of everything we've been working on, so we don't feel forced to run again. Because I believe in term limits, and that's a big part of why I don't want to run again.
Just one comment. I don't have any strong feelings either way, but it always seemed odd to me that the pay for a council person was the same as the stipend for being on one of those groups. And it just seems like it should be separated a little bit. But I'm not doing this for the money.
All right, Hunter, you got anything for good of the order?
Still want a memo on how the Bianchini Trust works or no?
Yes.
Remember that? No?
Yeah,
we
I
want
do.
that.
We want that. We want to get it, because there's always been questions, mumblings in the public, all kinds of things. So I think making sure everything is on the.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
Connor, when you do that memo, can I ask, can we also, and if it is a lot of trouble on your part, I'm also happy to do some footwork going to the county and to the state to ask for any documentation that Secretary of State has and that the county has on file regarding the trusts. I would like to see what other missing information we can get our hands on. Because I feel like the history here is just so muddy. It's very uncool.
Okay.
That's what we're trying.
Yeah.
All right. Ron, you got anything?
Nothing other than we take a brief break in between this and the closed session.
We can do that. All right. Do we have any public comment on good of the order comments? Come on up, and it's just on the things that we said right here, nothing else.
Deborah Frankel, 39 West Church Street. On what Trinity was just saying, any kind of stipend ought to be looked at periodically, just in terms of inflation, and raised to whatever the purchasing power of that would be. Second thing is something that I've mentioned to Larry, hasn't gotten any traction yet, so I'll bring it to all of you, which is that I'd like to see the city council consider setting up some citizen standing committees to research and make recommendations on things that the city council and the people here are interested in making happen, because I can see that everybody on the city council has a lot to do. But if we had some standing committees where residents could work on things that are of particular interest to them and advise and research to the city council, among other things, that would spread out the amount of participation, citizen participation there was because people wouldn't have to run for an office to get on a committee. They would just need to volunteer. And second, that if it were something where a member of the city council were an ex officio member of each of the committees, it might be a training ground for people to learn more about how the city council operates. And that way it would be sort of a farm team for people who might be interested, consider running for the job later. And it would be yet another committee that people on the city council would have to participate in because you would want to have that liaison and that guidance, but I think it would pay off. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments on good of the order? Tom's coming up and then you can, Harry.
Tom Parham, former council member. Yeah, I think the compensation for council needs to go up. It shouldn't be a financial burden. I mean, you know, when you're serving $100 a month, doesn't even cover the extra whiskey I required after the meetings. You know, I'm thinking like $500 would be in order. Nobody's going to get rich, and nobody would take this job for $500. You know, you have to want to do the job, but it shouldn't cost you money. And it might bring in, you know, some other people that want to.
That'll get us some top shelf bourbon, so that works.
Yeah, and I heard the hotel mentioned. So yeah, I just want this council. Listen, I was on the council for 4 years and I was pushing to get that hotel done, and I couldn't get it done either. But I want to keep our eye on the ball and get that thing finished. We're not on the ball.
Tom, if we make it 500, will you come out of retirement?
No.
Damn it. Harry.
Strike what I've said.
Harry Anderson. We have a great opportunity. We have a new year. And we can't change what happened last year. It's done. It's over. So with that being said, Caroline, you've learned a lot. You've got a lot of opportunity to change people's minds, opinions, especially now where you're sitting. You have the opportunity to prove that they were wrong, that whatever they thought really wasn't true, or you can validate it. Either way, that choice is up to you. But as far as the city council people go, you guys do an incredible job with not much to work with. And I mean that as far as support, money, the whole thing. It's got to be for love of city that you're doing it. So let's just try to make this year better than the last year. That was an excellent idea that you recommended. Like I've said before, there's a tremendous amount of talent in this town. If we can just get it to come together and not be at odds. Having lived here 39 years, I've seen a lot of how it used to be in the old days. It was very cliquey. I think we can change that. But only time will prove that out. So with the new advent of the town hall and any other committee that comes along that helps communication with the city council, I can't see it anything but strength, really. So here's to you for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry. Do we have any other public comment? Does not look like it. So with that being said, we will close this portion so we can take a 5-minute break and then we will go to closed session. Sound good? Thank you.